controlling more than 1,600 different functions of the body. 1,600. Everything in reality. So everything that's happening day to day is controlled by a system that is called autonomic nervous system. What autonomic is meaning to you?
I was going to ask you before.
Independent.
Exactly.
Which means it doesn't need us. So when you need to pee, you know, because there is some pressure. But you can get a little bit of control over it. So it's a little bit controlled. But when the pressure becoming more than there is a possibility, you're going to pee on yourself, which is happening to youngsters, to old people. This is a very small example. When you are in a sort of a chaos inside yourself, when you're frightened, when you are not sure and not safe, look at what's going on in your body. Your body is becoming stiff. You cannot think correctly because your brain is not getting the correct amount of nutrients. Your body is unable to digest things. When you're having an allergy, who is responsible to what? So in reality, our body is actually a sort of a game into the autonomic nervous system. How much doctors knows about autonomic nervous system? I urge you to go to your doctors in the neighborhood and to ask, can you give me a sort of exposition of the autonomic nervous system? And this is one system out of a few systems that compose our brain. And our brain is something like such a big miracle, and we do not know. So why we have to understand about operating the video, operating our car, when the most important system, our body, our brain, we do not know anything about it. So how come? This is something that we have to start learning in kindergarten, but we do not know. It's a big secret, but it's us. So doesn't it look to you a little bit weird that the most important system that we have to learn how to drive is actually obscured? It's like the biggest secret in the universe. Why? If you could get me a good answer to it, we can become good friends.
Well, that's a challenge. Okay. And
this
what
is
about,
a big problem.
Yeah. It's out of ignorance?
It's maybe we can go back to medieval time and to understand that medicine as a whole is controlled by people who are trying all the time to keep the dogma. And even though we are changing in the last years so much, it's still medicine that is the least responsive. If we're talking about a generation in electronics, which is now running between 1.5 to 2 years and maybe less, we're talking about the generation in medicine, which can be 15 to 20 years. Why? Because the speed and pace of changes in understanding ourselves is so high, but why it's not getting to the general public, and worse, why it's not getting to the doctors?
I can tell you because it has become not a mission to heal, but it has become business. And so things cannot be, I mean, if you remove every 2 years everything and how much people learn and for how many years they invest to get that education, I mean, if you change the textbooks, what about those who haven't got that
I completely agree. I completely agree.
So, are we
one
friends?
One of the people, I was in Washington in 1995, and my mentor, a big professor in the US now, let me a chance to meet Professor Basmijian, which he is considered the head of physical medicine in the US, the creator. And at that time he was actually the creator of most of the books that physical therapists learned by. Now, at long last, in the last 25-30 years, we have most of our books written by physiotherapists. But at that time, he was an MD, and he was a visionary person. When I met with him in Washington, in the World Physical Therapy Association meeting, he told me one thing that till now I remember it like it happened yesterday. At that time, he was in his late 70s. He died a couple of years ago, which was a big loss to community, but part of our life and cycle. And he said, young man, you should remember that future medicine is not going to consist about surgery, which means the surgeons are going to almost be eliminated, which means they're going to be directed to some holes in the areas of medicine. It's not the surgery is not necessary, it's very much necessary, but the necessity of it is going to go down and the biggest professionals are going to be rehabilitators or physical therapists and psychologists or the combination. And right now at the stage of development that I am in my years, I can say, I believe that the greatest evolution will be a creation of a chimera like between physical therapists and psychologists, which will give the answer of how to survive without pain and without emotional distress and how to go about life. But maybe it's a dream. But I hope this dream is going to come true and some people will benefit from it, because I think that people do not need so much therapy, but they need much more guidance. And this is what we are lacking. So we are going to different sects, we are believing in so many things, but we stop in a way, in a lot of ways, believing in ourselves. And I hope that the next era will be back to believing in ourselves and back to believing that we can change, and not only change, but preserve the good things and deny the bad things. I hope so.
Fantastic, yeah.
Thank you.
And well, you're not missing